Hello and welcome to another Marty's Matchbox Makeovers. I'm going into my hobby room to start on a new project, and what do I find? My new cat named Smudge sitting on my chair. Not happy. Anyway, here's some of the models that I've done in previous videos, and they are the BP range of specialist vehicles. For example, we have the 61B, the Elvis Stalwart, which came out in 1966. It's got the 3D printed roof on it. Turned out nice. This one is my particular favourite. It is the number 13D Dodge Wreck Truck from 1965. So I was 3 when this one came out. You got the standard BP tanker that everyone had. And this one is the Major Pack M1, the BP petrol tanker from the 1960s. Now, I do love them all, and I know that there's another one with an 8-wheeler that I've yet to do. But I did come across an unusual looking model, and it's the only one that I have, and it's the SO Ford Heavy Wrecking Truck, number 71C from 1968. And it's in red and white, and it's SO branded. And I thought, wouldn't it be fun to add this to the BP range and totally transform it into a yellow and green BP branded model? I thought it looked pretty cool, and so I'm going to give it a go. And I hope you enjoy the results at the end. So this is my inspiration. It's a smaller vehicle, and yet the heavy wrecking truck does not look particularly larger. It's almost like a magic, a sort of a optical illusion that Matchbox have made, that the heavy wrecker looks bigger because it's got smaller windows and it's got more wheels. So here's a few close-ups of the model just to show you the condition that it's in. It's not too bad overall. I've seen a lot worse, that's for sure. But as I said, this is the only one of these that I have in my possession. So I'm going to try and trick it up a little bit. First up, just like normal, we're going to drill out this rivet with this drill bit and separate this model, then strip it and paint it and put it back together again. So it's quite important to choose the right size drill. Too small and you won't actually wear away the rim of the rivet, and too large you may damage the model or make the hole too big to put it back together again. This one was just right. It's the Goldilocks drill, not too small, not too big. And I can pry the base off with some gentle pressure from a flat bladed screwdriver. And I thought this was going to fall apart easily, and then I noted that those cunning devils at Matchbox have incorporated a tab at the front that goes through a slot underneath the radiator. I hadn't noticed it before. It explains why it held together all these years. I can see why the beacon's missing now, because this transparency is actually broken. It's almost half-sized. Some kid has pushed down on the top, making it break away at some time during its life. And the beacon went missing, and so did the remnants of the broken windscreen. Now I'm just showing you now, I'm prepping this model to take the wheels off, and to do that I'm going to wear away that mushroom head on the end of the axle using this Ryobi brand Dremel, which is quite good, except that the battery goes flat if I leave it plugged in, even though I don't use it. That's a little bit annoying. Took me a while to work that one out, so now I have to remove the battery after I use it each time. There you can see I'm using my thumb to push on the other end of the axle so that the end with the mushroom head protrudes just enough for me to run that Dremel grindstone over the edge, and it enables you to remove the axles. This hook is in particularly good order. I've seen them chewed up and damaged and bent all out of recognition. This one's pretty good, so I'm likely to reuse it, I feel. Now, I'd forgotten all about these attachment points at the top of the hook. They have a thin end and a fat end, and I remember after I pulled this one apart that you're supposed to push it sort of up so the thin end releases from these little spigots there. You can just see that hold it in place. So you push it up and it comes out quite easily. I forgot all about that, so I just used unnecessary effort there getting this out. Luckily I didn't damage it or break it. So here's all the bits. There's not many of them, and just need a bit of a spruce up and a clean and put back together. I've got to source a new light, and this should look really cool. Now, to make sure it doesn't fall apart, of course, I can't reform the rivet, so as in the past I'm going to use one of these M2 button-headed Allen key screws. What a mouthful that is. And they're so small I can hardly pick them up, and I must apologise for the grime on my fingers. I've been working extremely hard recently and my skin tends to attract grime, and I have to wash my hands multiple times to get them anywhere close to being clean. So I'm just showing you the dimensions of these screws and the size of the drill correspondingly for making a hole so I can tap it to accept that screw. Now this one's had a hard life. It's been used a lot, so I'm going to chuck that away and break out one of these new ones from WorkZone. It's an Aldi brand if you've got Aldi in your country. And this is unusual. I didn't realise they're left and right-handed drills. The first time I've ever had any left-handed drills. Luckily I'm right-handed. So as you can see, I'm drilling down right in the centre of that post. Now I'm tapping it with this tiny little tap on the by hand, which is great. No specialist tools required really, just that tap kit and something to grip it with. And look at that, it's a beautiful thread there in the post, ready to put the screw back into when I put it back together. Now I've just got to quickly paint strip these down so I can repaint them and put it back together again, using this popular polystripper paint stripper that I've used in the past. And after I did this, my wife came home from shopping, Julie, and she said, "Oh, I've got you some citrus stripper." And I thought, oh, if only you'd been here 10 minutes earlier, I could have showcased it, but I'll have to wait for that for the next video. I'll use that, and you can see how well it works. This stuff has never let me down, really. Except when there's a paper sticker on the side. Oh, there you go. That's come off now. That's good. This is maybe 20 minutes later after I've cleaned them off with a toothbrush and a little bit of steel wool and some dental tools just to get little bits and pieces off. And whilst I'm doing that, I notice that the front of this bumper bar is bent, and so is the back slightly. Now the last little car I did, I showcased it, and I hadn't realised until somebody in the comments said, "Oh, the window frame's bent." And I said, "What? You've got to be kidding me." And I got it back out of the cabinet and had a look at it. I could have kicked myself. So this one I made special attention to look it over and make sure that if there's any bends there, I'm going to straighten them out so no one can have anything to say about it. Although you will, because I'm using the wrong sort of pliers here. They've got a rough gripping face on the inside of the pliers there, which could have damaged the model. It didn't. And after I did it, I thought, oops, rookie mistake. You go back to using the adjustable shifter, or the pliers there, the adjustable spanner, whatever you call it, monkey wrench. And it's got smooth grip, so it doesn't damage the model. And it allows you to use a lot of leverage if necessary with just a little bit of pressure. It straightened those back ends out pretty good. So I'm happy with that. And now I shall move on to the painting process, which did not go particularly well, as you will see in a minute. First up, I'm going to do the cabin and the chassis with the Tamiya light grey paint. the undercoat paint. And this really does highlight any major dings, scratches or dimples or gouges that might be on the model. And it also highlights the detail, which I love. This is part of the bit I like, is all of a sudden you can see all these little details that you couldn't see even as a kid. You probably didn't notice them. Even tiny little words on the front there, diesel, in like not even a millimetre high letters. It's great. And that heavy riveted reinforcement plate on the back there, bit of checker plate in the rear tray, fuel tank on the side, all sorts of little details that went unnoticed that the great Matchbox Lesney company used to incorporate in their models, which I guess made them so popular, and also made them popular today for collectors. So I'm going to pick some BP colours, yellow and green, from my Humbrol range. I think they are. I haven't got many paints left now. I'm going to have to start ordering some new ones. Since I moved, I don't have a local hobby shop to go and indulge myself in. I thought this was, what did I say it was? Humbrol, but it's not. It's Revel, this one. It's the number 61, and the yellow here is something else, except that very disappointingly it's dried up in the pot and is of no use, so that can go straight in the bin. And I'm going to have to try and make up my own yellow, which hopefully will look similar to the original Matchbox colours. But this green is perfect, straight out of the pot. Might give it a little bit of thinners, and we are good to go. We have a green light. Well, we're soon to have a green model. A little bit of mineral terps with this enamel paint, not the normal stuff I use, which is the, I'm not too sure what is the normal stuff I use? I can't recall, but it uses a water-based thinner. You mix it up, you get some like thinners, and you dilute it with water. God, I can't for the life of me remember what the name was. I'll have to go and check now when I finish this voiceover. Not very good camera work there. I'm getting a little bit rusty, so I apologise for that. You missed the exciting bit, the spray painting. But with the enamel paint, I'm in the habit of baking it in my little oven, toasty oven, and it just makes it dry a little bit quicker. Here's the Tamiya acrylic paint that I used to make up this yellow colour. And interestingly, I found that I had to add just a couple of drops of green to make the colour that I wanted. I can't explain it, other than it didn't look right, just light yellow. I had to have something else, and I experimented with a couple of drops of green, and lo and behold, I got a great paint, and I couldn't wait to paint it. And this is where my airbrush started to spit and jam and sputter, and it did not want to play the game, and I don't think this has ever happened before. Not too sure what I'm doing wrong, but ultimately I had to pull it apart and completely strip it down and clean everything, put it back together again, and then this is the finished spray job, which turned out alright. Now, Smudge is continually exploring, hasn't been in this room much, and he finds a lot of interesting things to look at. For example, the television there, which I have on as background noise. A little bit annoying kicking stuff around on the bench, but I do love her. So this is a little beacon that I had. I'm going to clean it up. It's a bit scuffed up. I'm going to clean it up with some polishing compound that I found on my shelf. I can't remember when I bought this or how good it is. Just dip a little cotton bud in there. I run it in my drill rather than using manual movement to polish it. I thought I'd just be lazy and run the drill whilst I'm rotating the Q-tip there, or the cotton bud on the light with the polishing compound. I'll have a look at it in a minute. didn't want to go crazy because they can overheat and go all silly. And it looks pretty damn good. But just to finish it off, I gave it a quick dust over with this Tamiya clear coat, and it looks amazing. It looks like a brand new one. I also give a bit of clear coat over the old sort of faded red hook, and that worked well too. Now I was scouting around for something to clean the wheels with. I thought I could remember that I'd seen something the other day, and lo and behold, I found it. It's a something that you might use on your feet to get rid of rough skin. Where is it? It's in here somewhere. There it is. That's it. And I think it's got battery. Yes, it still works. That's great. So I'm going to use this on the wheels, and hopefully they will come up looking like brand new. Just put that back there. No need to keep it in the hobby room.
Hey Martin, what are you doing?
Just got to clean the wheels and then I'll put it back together.
Okay, do you want a drink?
Nah, thanks, I'm okay. Alright, bye. Oh, and they polish up lovely with a little bit of water and some household washing up detergent. Now I'll put them on this masking tape, give them a quick coat of clear coat, and they look brand new. Now I had that light, and in the past I have actually put a red LED flashing light similar to this one in a fire chief's car. Have a look out for that episode if you haven't seen it. It's quite interesting. And I was tempted to do it with this model, but I was pressed for time. I even experimented with just dipping those clear LEDs into red paint, and they look even better. But I thought I'd stick with the original and keep one of these for later, maybe another project. And they do shine beautifully bright. This is obviously an amber one, and there's also red ones. And you buy them in packs of like 10 for $1. It's so cheap. Now, as for the hook, initially when I had this model I looked around for hooks and I found one. That one there is in mint condition. Some of these are 3D printed also. But after I looked at the red one close up, I realised that I had absolutely no need at all to replace it, so I might as well just keep the original hook. And so that's what I did. So this model is going to end up with a red hook, not a yellow one. And for the decals, I remembered that in the past I've done a few I've done a few BP models, and I had some decals left over. Some are good, some are average, some are really good, like these ones here, beautiful bright yellow and dark green. Unfortunately, I realised that they were on clear backed paper, so if I use those I'd have to paint a white square on the model, which would be time consuming and not an easy thing to do, make it look good. Then I found, luckily, these actual stickers that somebody sent me once, or I ordered them, I can't remember now. I've had so many projects in the past, and all these decals have accumulated from who knows where. So I thought, yeah, I'll just make these. Use these. They're an easy option, and they're going to need a bit of trimming. Look at that. Whoever cut that out with a, I don't know, some kind of X-Acto knife, cocked it up in the corner there. So I'm going to cut those out and use them, and here's all the pieces here, and they're going to look $1 million, I'm sure. Now, I was remembered I had a 1969 Matchbox collector's catalogue, and I just thought I'd have a look through and see if this model featured in it, and it did. There it is there, number 71, and it's got a swinging hook. You see the arrows at the back there. It's like showing off its feature that the hook moves. Anyway, I've shot up the axles with a little bit of wire wool, and I'm going to put the wheels back on the model using these hollow point punches in the drill press. It's similar to the Marty method I used to use with 2 nails, but I've kind of taken this to the next level, and now I'm using these hollow punches, nail punches, for decking, etc. And they do a pretty good job. You do need to use a lot of pressure on the drill press, surprisingly, to get the effect that you want, which is slightly flaring of the end of the axle that you've ground down. It only needs to be a tiny bit, and that's all it is. but it works, and it works really well. So there's a tip if you're wondering how to do it and you've run out of ideas. It's something you could try. Now, because the windscreen was broken, I'm going to glue it back into place using some clear or translucent silicone. I used to have a tiny little tube, couldn't find it, so I had to use this huge tube, like a 1/1000th of a tube to glue the windscreen in. A little bit of overkill opening that up for this little project, but nonetheless. It should have the desired effect. So I'm just putting a little bit on here on both sides of, so not actually where the light is, because this actually holds the light in place. I'll drop that in there and squeegee it down. And the beauty of this model is that the windscreen is actually held up in the cabin by some metal supports on the front of the vehicle there, just behind the front wheels, if you see them. Those there actually push on the base of the edges of the windscreen and hold it up. So that's why when little Johnny pushed on the light, the windscreen broke, but the light went into the model, we can only assume. Now, putting this back together was a little bit tricky. I forgot about that little tab there on the front, and it didn't actually drop together like I was expecting. You did have to actually tilt the back up and feed the front in and use a little bit of force to get this thing back together. There we go. Now I've just got to put that screw back in, and hopefully that will clamp the two parts of the model together and make it playworthy again and solid so it won't fall apart. It looks nice. Looks like an original rivet, doesn't it? So not too bad. The windscreen, by the way, I gave it a bit of a polish and again some clear coat to jazz it up a little bit. Now here is an example of how to put these back together. There's a thin wedge edge and a fat end on that hook, so always put the thin edge in from the top and push down with your thumb and it goes in quite easily. So time for these stickers. Notice they're not decals, they are actual stickers. So something different again. I mean, you can print these out on your printer if you're a little bit handy, and you can buy the sticker material quite cheaply from your newsagents. Now, as per the original models, the BP range, they always had a little corner cut off. Well, actually no, they didn't always have it, but mostly they had a little corner cut off the decal, or sticker in this case, that matches the profile of the rear tray. So that's good. I just got to push it down to make it stick. So how did it turn out? Wow, have a look at this. I was really pleased with how this turned out. I put some details into the headlights with some chrome paint, put a little daub on the end of the axles just to make them look ultra smart. And this is a beautiful little model. It's a custom, you do realise. And why Matchbox didn't actually bring this model out in these colours is beyond me, because I think it looks absolutely amazing and is highly suited to this colour in the BP branding. Now, it's only now when I'm reviewing this video at the end of filming it all, so I realise there's a small gap there. Well, please rest assured that I did go and retrieve the model from my display cabinet, and I tweaked up the screw underneath and I closed that gap up, and it looks even better. So I know you wouldn't believe it, but it does. So now, after I finished the model, this is the most exciting part for me on that day, was to put it on display alongside all the other BP models that I have. And it looks like it belongs. It really does. It's just a beautiful thing, and I hope you agree, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. And if you have, please like and subscribe and leave a comment and let me know what you think, and if there's any other custom models that you would like to see me do. It's not something I always do. In fact, I try to steer clear of it and return the model to its original condition. But today I did something different and I'm very pleased. Not that I look it here, I look quite miserable in that end shot. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and please come back next time and enjoy a movie from Marty's Matchbox Makeovers. Goodbye.